okay, the way you approach certain problems will be different. And then when you enroll to university, the courses, the assignments they actually go through, you work under pressure. The best thing that university teaches you is working under pressure and being able to meet deadlines and so forth. Okay, where as I said, right, when you go to the industry doesn't really look at, okay, I want you to use face recognition with this particular technology. They don't really care what technology you use. They don't really care whether you use Python or R or TensorFlow or whatever advanced algorithm that you're using at the back. What they really care about is, will this solve my customer's problem and will this be cheap for me?
So our speaker for today is Mr. PremKumar Chandrashegaran, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. He is an experienced data scientist with over 8 years of experience in data and analytics. He has professional hands-on knowledge in machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning, and many more. He is currently working as a senior data scientist in Shell and is also a mentor for Udacity. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Likewise. It is said that getting a mentor is the shortcut to success, and you are heavily invested in academia and mentoring. Any changes you would like to see in academia? Things which have been done wrong or are inefficient or just old?
Okay, so first of all, we have to look at the current scenario in the academic world, right? Be it in Malaysia, where I'm at, or where I studied in UK, or US, or even in India. Academicians and versus the industry people, right? So there is a vast difference in terms of how they apply their knowledge. Okay, because academicians, because coming from the academic side, so I know how my colleagues and even myself, we have to approach a certain problem. We have to use the theoretical part of it. So, and when you talk about academic part, we will look at most things in an ideal world. So you guys know as well. So some of you may have done engineering in your school or in university. So when we talk about ideal world, the formulas we're using, we are assuming that everything will be perfect. And thus, when we approach a real world scenario, it may not always fall into a good solution. Whatever solutions that we devise, it may not be the best solution ever in the real world. Whereas for industry people, I would not say that they are perfect as well. Probably their theoretical knowledge is not as good as the academicians. So the way that they approach things is through experience or via experience, because they have faced real in probably throughout their working life or working career. So the way that they approach things are different. So coming back to your question, do I see a gap? Yes, I do see a gap. And what I would like to see in the future, this is the ideal world scenario for me, right? What I would like to see in the future is I would like to see a smaller gap and the bridge between the academic world and an industry world, whereby whatever the academicians are teaching in university or college, it has direct relationship to what the industry currently needs. Because we know most of the courses that we teach in college or university are outdated. It's a living fact, and nowadays kids or students or even anyone can learn anything via a simple Google search. So we don't need teachers to come in and teach the same thing that they can get in a better way from YouTubers. Okay, some YouTube teachers are even better than in explaining compared to some teachers out there in university. So we don't need that. What we need these teachers to actually come and tell us is, what? Okay, you apply this knowledge, you go and learn something from YouTube, come back, now you apply this knowledge for the industry. Okay. That will be the best way forward.
So a lot of coming back to your question about like learning from YouTube. So a lot during this pandemic, a lot of classes have been shifted online. So what should a person
Mm-hmm.
do? Should they like enroll as an online academic person, or should they learn it from online? Should they learn it online on YouTube?
So let me rephrase your question. So that means your question was whether people should learn online or enroll in a class online, or just be in a current scenario. Is that what you mean?
No, I mean, should students apply to universities for their
Mm-hmm.
online classes, or
Mm-hmm.
self-study free from free resources online?
Okay, so I am not an advocate of YouTube. I'm not an advocate of Udacity or Udemy or anything. So I'm just like talking based on my personal experience, or this is my personal opinion. So I would say that I would not totally discount university courses. There is a weightage in university courses. Okay, because why I say this is through the 3 or 4 years of university program, a student learns to become more mature.
Mm.
Okay, because you're just coming out of school, say after A level or O level, you're going into university. You are still a teenager there. You're not so mature. Okay, the way you approach certain problems will be different. And then when you enroll to university, the courses, the assignments they actually go through, you work under pressure. The best thing that university teaches you is working under pressure and being able to meet deadlines and so forth. So learning by your own self-study, you may not go through that amount of pressure because most of the time you may tend to slack off. There was a study for Udemy, Udacity, and all of these online learning courses, right? MOOCs, that most people who start enrolling in some of these online courses tend to not finish it on time. That is the slacking part. So whereby if you go to a formal education, why companies still value formal education is because the chances of you finishing a formal education and going through the pressure is a lot better than you doing your own study. But of course, if you are someone who is like very disciplined, then by all means go for it, right? Because there are lots of good courses online that that are short and concise and straight to the point, that will help you to keep on par with the industry needs.
True. I also want to I want to ask you something about AIs as well, because you
Mm-hmm.
are a data scientist. I saw
Mm-hmm.
an interview with Jack Ma and Elon Musk regarding the AI topic, and
Mm-hmm.
where Elon Musk says that AI will take over humans, and Jack Ma completely disagrees with the fact that AI can even take over humans. So, what is your thoughts about that?
I would definitely cite Jack Ma on this.
Oh,
AI will never uh, beat humans. Okay, as far as we humans are still around, because whatever Elon Musk's want to say, or whatever his opinions are, if he can prove to all of us that he's using 100% of his brain capability, and then come and tell us that AI will overpower me, that is different. But even the smartest person known, okay, to all of us, Albert Einstein, it was proven that it's only used about 8% of his brain capacity. So most of us humans in the normal IQ stage or IQ level, we only use about 5% to 6% of our brain capacity throughout our lifetime. So correct. So it's about 5% of our brain in when it comes to normal IQ person for the rest of our lives. And some may argue that yeah, Elon Musk is right because most humans cannot reach 100% or even 50% capability of their brains. So when you are talking about human versus computer, and if someone like Elon Musk is arguing that computers will become better than humans, nobody is actually arguing that humans should actually become better in terms of the 50% capability and all of that. And Jack Ma was right in terms of, you don't need to use games like, chess or Go to compete with an AI. The real benchmark against AI should be where human beings are excelling at. Like, for example, the ability to learn, the ability to have emotions and feelings, and being able to interpret another person's feelings, or understanding the emotions just by looking at the facial expression and etc. And having the touch and all other senses combined. So yes, we are approaching that in terms of AI, where we call a general artificial intelligence, but that is a long way to go. And by then, I'm sure that humans will always overpower computer.
What was the most fun topic for you when you worked on the AI?
What was the most fun topic on me? So I've been working on uh, lots of deep reinforcement learning, and recently I've worked with two interesting topics. I'm still working on it. I can't say it's a finished topic. So I'm trying to teach computer how to feel emotions, or have sentiments. Because, like, for example, if you are doing a facial recognition, or let's say if you're there are AIs helping police to make decisions, right? But there are no human emotions or human sentiments involved in it. So that is one thing that I'm currently working on. Another one is teaching. So because I'm an avid gamer, PlayStation, I play. I'm a pro FIFA player, so I'm also like teaching computer how to play FIFA as good as a human being. So those are two interesting things I'm working on. Those are my own projects actually.
Great, great. I look forward to it. Um,
Yeah.
as I said earlier, that you are both heavily invested in academia and industry. So, what do you feel is a better option for a person looking for a career in AI, PhD or a job?
I would always say, okay, so there are pros and cons of both. Okay, if someone is doing PhD, the person will be focused on that one particular topic for the rest of his or her PhD. Okay, so for the next 4 to 7 years, the person will be so much vested on focusing on, say, a natural language processing problem or a face recognition problem. And that person may be exceptionally good in that. But when it comes to other problems within AI, she or he may not really excel at. Okay, where, as I said, right, when you go to the industry doesn't really look at, okay, I want you to use face recognition with this particular technology. They don't really care what technology you use. They don't really care whether you use Python or R or TensorFlow or whatever advanced algorithm that you're using at the back. What they really care about is, will this solve my customer's problem, and will this be cheap for me?
Mm.
And a PhD will not be able to answer that. What will be able to answer that is experience and vast knowledge. So you should have a T-shaped experience. So when I say a T-shaped experience, so you can see that T is the vertical line is going deep. So that means you're good in one particular thing. A deep knowledge on one thing, and a horizontal line. So that means you know a broad range, but you have a deep knowledge in something. So you always have a T-shaped knowledge.
True.
Yeah.
So we should go with the job.
Always, I would say, it's nothing wrong doing PhD, but do PhD while you're on a job. Do a part-time PhD.
True.
I wouldn't recommend doing a full-time PhD if you want a job. If you want a PhD and you want to be a research scientist until the end, by all means, go for it. Okay, but then if you want a job in the industry, you want a corporate life, then get a job and then do a PhD on a part-time basis, maybe. Yeah.
Can we also talk about the EVs, the electronic vehicles, because that is the near future, near future, I guess. So will EVs take over petrol cars in the near future, or do we have a long way to go?
I would say that we do have at least 50 years to go for that. Yes, EVs are coming up. Yeah, they are very fast. So you can see companies like, Tesla is actually leading the way, and you see, like, BMWs and Mercedes and Toyota's actually coming up with lots of hybrid vehicles. But you also see companies like Mazda and, the other players who are inventing a more energy efficient vehicle. So that means it is not electric vehicles. These are energy efficient vehicle whereby it uses fuel in a more efficient way. Because the problem with the fuel combustion engines is that it only burns about, has about 30 to 40% efficiency for most cars. The rest is released as heat and, friction and etc. So there's no efficiency. So some manufacturers right now, they are actually working on the engineering side to actually increase the efficiency. So if effectively you use less fuel, less carbon dioxide output, which is exactly what the environment wants. But at the same time, you are producing a more energy efficient vehicle. So versus electric vehicle, yes. So we have few challenges for electric vehicle, right? Number one, the first problem, the main problem is battery. Storage, energy storage. Where do you store storage? So that means for a car to travel 400 kilometers, it needs to have a very good lithium battery. And so there are a few challenges with that. Lithium batteries have to be able to store energy for a long time. It has to be reliable. So if you look at a normal combustion car, it can last for 20, 30 years if you really service it well. Whereas it's a lithium battery cars, you have to replace a battery which costs about 10,000 USD every 6 years. Okay, and where are you going to get the lithium batteries? You have to mine for lithium. So again, when you are talking about mining, the oil and gas is actually harmful to earth. Lithium batteries pose the same problem as well. You need to go and mine for lithium batteries. These are all natural sources. Where are you going to store the battery? Where are you going to store the energy? So all of these kind of things actually poses a big question, and most people tend to forget this, right? So yeah, that is just my take on this.
Yeah. COVID-19 has shaken all us up and we are trying to cope with it. How is the industry adjusting to the pandemic?
I would say that certain industries are really impacted. Like if you look at the travel industries, they are impacted. The tourism and hotel industries are really impacted. And then the oil and gas industry is also impacted because of the low oil prices, and as well as people are not using cars, so there's less oil demand. So certain industries are really impacted, but on the other hand, certain industries are also thriving. Like if you look at healthcare, insurance, and what is the other sector, pharmaceuticals. So these industries are thriving. So that is when one industry goes down, another industry picks up. So that is the norm, that is the balance. Okay, that's always been, right? So that is the economic landscape. So yeah, how it has impacted the industry, just that some industries are impacted, some industries are impacted. So those who are losing jobs, of course they will need to upskill to be able to fill in the gap for the on-demand industries.
And your view on how the industry will be after the pandemic goes away, things which are going to stick with us. I am asking you about the automation industry in specific.
So when you talk about automation industry, whether things will be the same or not, I don't really think so, because people are getting used to staying at home. People are getting used to buying things online and doing everything online, and thus for that reason, people may not travel much outside. And when that happens, automation industry will be impacted. So I'm assuming this is automotive industry, so they will be impacted because people are not going to travel. So cars will be less on the road. Newer cars will not be able to sell. Even second-hand dealers or car dealers will be having trouble selling the cars out. And yeah, so that will be the impact on the post-pandemic. People are going to stay at home. I'm not saying 100% people are going to stay at home. I'm saying at least 30% will stay at home, and only 70% will start going out.
Data science is a really sought after field by students of various disciplines. What is your advice to them?
To start in data science, you mean, or whether it's a good field or bad field?
To the people who are pursuing data science, what should they look out for? Any advices?
So it's a very good field, as you said. Any industry or any field requires data science. It's not just IT that requires data science. It's not just engineering that requires healthcare, law, accountancy, banking. Everywhere requires data science, right? So what I would say is pick on one industry that you're really passionate about. So let's say if you're really passionate about banking, pick on that industry and build the knowledge of that industry. Because just by learning the algorithms and the mathematics or statistics behind it, and by learning programming language such as C or Python or R, does not make you a great data scientist. What makes you a great data scientist is by knowing the data. What is the data trying to tell you? What is the story the data is trying to tell you? And you will not know what the data is trying to tell you if you are a generic data scientist. If you are saying, okay, I know all the maths, I know all the programming languages, but you must know what the data is trying to tell you. And how you know that is only by knowing the industry. By knowing a banking industry, you will know what certain banking data tells you. By knowing oil and gas industry, you will know what certain data is telling you. So pick that industry and be really good at something, or pick one or two industries and be really good at that, and then you'll be able to excel.
Great advice. What have you been up to in this pandemic?
Yep, so this was a great opportunity for me to be with my family, my wife and my newborn son. So been working from home for the past 3 months actually. Been cooking instead of buying out, and then been working out at home. So I tend to have a lot more free time, because when I used to go to office, I get stuck in traffic at least 3 hours a day. So now I get that 3 hours to myself. So in that 3 hours, I tend to do something that I am really passionate about. So like, for example, being with my family, playing with my son, spending more time on the things that I love, like, working on a project or something like that. So yeah, that is what I've been up to.
Yes. So the pandemic has been positive for you.
Yeah, in a way, it is positive, because it teaches me how to appreciate life, smaller things in life. And if everyone looks at the pandemic in that way, I think that will help us reset our views on the world, right?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. We have to be
Yeah,
positive for this to go
correct.
on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us here today. Unfortunately, that was our last question, but I had a
Mhm.
great time with you. I hope you had a great time with me as well.
Thank you, Dustin. Thank you very much. Yes, it was great set of questions. Thank you very much for asking, and I hope I helped some of you. Some of the answers you had. Some of the questions you had. Sorry.
No, you did. I actually was with Elon Musk, but I'm gonna rethink my view after what you said uh, about Jack Ma's point of view. So I'll think about that as well. So thank you
Yeah.
for such great advices. Thank you for being with us here today. It was a pleasure having you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Dustin.